Imagine you're sitting around listening to Jesus himself. He instructs a small group of people, whispering a secret that has remained hidden for over 2,000 years. His most powerful teachings were so incredible and life-changing that a group of people purposefully kept them hidden. These teachings are about life, love, and a world where we could make everything look different. It's about how to unlock a secret power inside you, a power so great that it could change the way you live your life today. Jesus wasn't just telling people to wait for heaven. He was teaching them how to find heaven inside themselves. He was showing them how to connect with something bigger, something magical, right here on earth. For centuries, powerful people didn't want you to know this secret. They sought to maintain control over public beliefs, ensuring the dissemination of only specific information about Jesus. Only a few were able to uncover the real hidden wisdom. You might never realize that you have the power to connect with something greater, something divine, without waiting for someone else to give it to you. And that's the scariest part. Living your life without knowing the whole truth. The Gospel of Luke 17:21 captures it when Jesus says, "The kingdom of God is within you." But most people have missed the deeper meaning of this. For centuries, the mainstream view has been that heaven is a reward for living a good life, something we only get after death. But Jesus was pointing to something much more incredible, the idea that divine peace, love, and happiness are accessible here on earth, not just in some distant afterlife. If you could find heaven inside yourself, it would mean you have the power to be at peace, no matter what's going on around you. This is where mysticism comes in. In the mystical view, spiritual awakening isn't about following a set of rules or performing religious rituals. It's about inner transformation, a complete change in the way you see yourself and the world. In simple terms, it's the belief that every person can connect directly with the divine. This idea goes way beyond what most people think about religion. While traditional Christianity often teaches that you need a church, priest, or some external figure to connect with God, mysticism says the opposite. You already have everything you need inside you. In the early years of Christianity, many of Jesus' closest followers believed in this mystical path. Esoteric traditions passed down these teachings, keeping the knowledge secret and sharing it only with those who were spiritually ready. The church became more organized and focused on external practices like sacraments and hierarchy by the 4th century, suppressing much of this mystical knowledge. These formal structures often overshadowed the deeper inner teachings of Jesus. Spiritual awakening holds the key to unlocking this inner kingdom of God. This is not just a change in how you act, it's a shift in how you experience life. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," John 10:30, he wasn't just talking about himself. He was speaking about a universal truth, that every person has the potential to realize their own connection to God. It's not just for saints or prophets, it's for everyone. Mysticism teaches that spiritual awakening comes when you stop identifying with your ego, the part of you that worries, feels separate from others, and gets stuck in the details of life, and start recognizing your true self, which is connected to everything and everyone. This oneness with God is the heart of what Jesus was teaching, but most people never realize it. One of Jesus' most mysterious teachings speaks about the eye being single. In Matthew 6:22, he says, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light." What does that even mean? Often misunderstood, this verse makes perfect sense when viewed through the lens of mysticism. Jesus referred to your third eye, a spiritual concept prevalent in numerous ancient traditions rather than your physical eyes. The third eye is believed to be the center of spiritual vision, the place where you can see beyond the physical world and understand higher truths. When Jesus talks about the eye being single, he means that when your spiritual vision is clear, you see the world as it really is, not clouded by fear, distractions, or material things. Your whole body becomes full of light because you're able to experience life from a higher perspective, one where everything is connected and the divine is present in all things. This teaching reveals one of the biggest secrets Jesus shared. We are all one with God. This isn't just some nice-sounding idea, it's the key to understanding who we really are. If you've ever experienced a sense of disconnection or a lack of something in your life, it's due to our indoctrination to perceive ourselves as distinct from God, as if God resides in a distant place while we exist on earth. But Jesus was trying to show us the opposite. He was teaching that there is no separation. We are all part of the same divine presence, the same spiritual reality. Many mystical traditions across the world embrace the concept of non-duality. The word itself means not two. It's the idea that there is no division between the human and the divine, between you and everything around you. Non-duality, to put it simply, teaches that everything interconnects, and at its core there exists only one reality. Think of it like drops of water in the ocean. All drops are part of the same vast ocean, despite appearing separate. That's how we are with God. Jesus understood this and wanted to show us that we share divine energy. Non-duality isn't about being religious or following a set of rules. It's about realizing that the line we draw between ourselves and the divine doesn't really exist. Jesus wasn't saying that only he was one with God, he was saying that you are too. The divine connects every person and living thing, just as the branches of a tree connect to their roots. We learn to think of ourselves as individuals from the moment we are born, separate from others, separate from nature, and separate from God. We think in terms of me versus you, or us versus them. This creates a sense of division in our minds, making it difficult to feel the connection that is actually always present. But this division is just an illusion. Jesus taught that in reality, there is only oneness. There's no divide between you and God, only your perception makes it seem that way. When you start to see beyond this illusion, that's when you begin to understand non-duality. It's like lifting a veil and realizing that the world is much more connected than you ever thought. You're not a small, separate person living in a big, scary world. You are part of everything, and everything is part of you. That's what Jesus meant when he said, "I and the Father are one." He wasn't trying to claim some special status for himself. He was inviting us all to recognize the truth of our own divine nature. Understanding non-duality and divine oneness isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, and like any journey, it takes time and effort. Jesus often talked about this journey as the narrow path, Matthew 7:13-14, a path that not many people are willing to walk. It can be frightening to relinquish the delusion of separation. We've spent our whole lives building up ideas about who we are, our identities, our goals, our successes and failures. But to experience divine oneness, you have to be willing to see beyond those ideas. You must let go of your ego, which makes you feel small. This is what Jesus meant when he talked about dying to yourself. He wasn't talking about physical death. He was talking about the death of the ego, that sense of separateness, so that your true divine self can shine through. The good news is that Jesus wasn't the only one capable of experiencing this oneness. He made it clear that this divine connection is available to everyone. When you begin to recognize that you and God are not separate and that we are all connected, you start to live with a deeper sense of peace, love, and understanding. In John 3:3, Jesus told Nicodemus, "No one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again." What Jesus was talking about wasn't just a one-time event or ritual. He was referring to a spiritual rebirth, a total shift in how we experience ourselves and the world around us. To be born again, in the way Jesus described, means to awaken to a new level of consciousness, where you no longer see life through the limited perspective of the ego, but instead through the eyes of the divine self. The first birth is the physical one, where we come into the world as babies, shaped by our environment, our experiences, and the people around us. But the second birth, the spiritual one, is an inner awakening. It's when we start to realize that we're not just our bodies or our thoughts, we're something much deeper, a soul with limitless potential. This process of awakening changes everything. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses that let you see life with fresh eyes. You begin to understand that life isn't just about chasing after material things or satisfying the ego. Instead, it's about discovering your divine nature, that part of you that's eternal, wise, and connected to everything. A huge part of this inner transformation involves letting go of the ego, that voice inside your head that constantly tells you who you are, what you should be afraid of, and what you need to accomplish to feel worthy. The ego is the part of us that feels separate from others and from God, constantly seeking validation and approval. But Jesus was teaching something radically different. When he talked about being born again, he meant leaving behind the ego's limited view of the world. This doesn't mean you completely stop thinking or having desires. It means that you no longer let the ego run the show. Rather, you begin to live from your higher self, the aspect of yourself that consistently maintains a connection with God and the divine truth. Think about it like this. Your ego is like a mask you've been wearing your whole life. It's not the real you, but you've gotten so used to wearing it that you forgot what your true face looks like. Being born again means taking off that mask and letting your authentic self shine through. Rebirth doesn't happen all at once. It's not like flipping a switch. It's more like a journey, one that takes time, patience, and self-awareness. This path of inner transformation involves looking deeply at ourselves, our fears, our attachments, and the ways we hold ourselves back from experiencing true peace and joy. Jesus often described this journey as a narrow path, one that few people are willing to walk. Why? Because it's challenging. It asks us to face the parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid, to let go of old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us, and to open up to the unknown. But the reward is enormous: freedom, spiritual awakening, and a sense of oneness with God that brings profound peace and fulfillment. Mystic traditions often compare this inner transformation to a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. At first, the caterpillar may not realize its potential. It crawls along the ground, limited by what it can see and experience. But then, through the process of transformation, it becomes something entirely new, able to soar above the world with a much broader perspective. That's what spiritual rebirth is like. It's about breaking out of the cocoon of the ego and realizing the limitless potential of your true self. Once you experience this rebirth, life changes in ways you never expected. You start to feel more connected to others because you see that we are all part of the same divine source. You feel less fearful and anxious because you know that there is something eternal and unshakable inside you. And most importantly, you begin to live with a sense of purpose that goes beyond just surviving day to day. You realize that your life has a deeper meaning, one that involves awakening to the divine power within and helping others do the same. Jesus wasn't just talking about religious conversion when he said, "You must be born again." He was offering an invitation to experience a completely new way of living, one where the old fears, doubts, and limitations fall away and you step into the fullness of who you really are. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. The path to rebirth is open to anyone willing to take the first step and look within. The stories we grew up with, the ones about love, forgiveness, and kindness, are just the surface. But beneath that surface lies a treasure trove of spiritual truths that can transform your life. These teachings aren't just ancient words. They are a living guide to unlocking your potential, to finding true peace and a deep connection with the divine. Jesus was more than just a rule follower or a figure to venerate from a distance. He was trying to show us that we can connect with the divine now, not in heaven. He wanted to help people realize their own power, to awaken spiritually, to find heaven within themselves, and to live with a sense of purpose and meaning that goes beyond the everyday. The truth is, many people go through life never realizing these deeper teachings. They stay stuck in their old ways of thinking, never opening the door to the spiritual awakening that Jesus was pointing toward. They believe that happiness and fulfillment are always somewhere in the future, waiting for them, when really, Jesus was showing us that these things are already here, available within us. But not everyone is ready to walk this path. It's challenging. It asks you to question everything you thought you knew, to let go of the ego's control, and to embrace a new way of seeing the world. It's a journey that requires courage, but one that leads to incredible rewards, inner peace, a sense of connection to everything around you, and the realization of your divine potential. If this message is resonating with you and you're feeling inspired by these teachings, consider supporting this journey with a super thanks. Every bit of support keeps us going, researching and sharing insights that can spark transformation in all of us. These teachings are just the beginning, a foundation upon which you can build a life of spiritual growth and awakening. The more you explore Jesus' lost wisdom, the more you will see how it applies to your everyday life. It's not about abandoning everything you know. It's about going deeper, expanding your understanding, and finding the balance between the material world and the spiritual truths that can guide you through it. The transformation we've talked about, this rebirth of spirit, this shift from ego to divine consciousness, is something you can experience. It's not just for a few chosen people. It's for anyone who is willing to look within and take the steps toward inner transformation. And when you do, you'll see the world through new eyes. You'll feel the oneness that Jesus spoke of, the non-duality that connects us all. Jesus didn't intend to keep the wisdom he shared a secret forever. Despite centuries of secrecy, these teachings are now accessible to those who are prepared to receive them. But here's the thing, not everyone will understand. Some will ignore this deeper call and continue living as if the spiritual truths we've explored don't exist. But for those who are open, awakening is immediately available. You don't have to live your life in the shadows of misunderstanding, chasing happiness that always feels out of reach. The real secret Jesus was trying to reveal is that you already have everything you need to live a life full of love, joy, and divine connection. You already possess it, awaiting its realization. The time to start is now. Don't let this wisdom pass by. Take the first step, open your heart, explore these teachings deeper, and begin your own journey of spiritual awakening. Maybe the path to happiness and fulfillment was always inside you. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Jesus' lost wisdom. Be part of our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.